Good evening and happy Monday to everyone listening to Locked On Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse, and this edition, Dusty Baker Family Values takes the lineup card from his son Darren Baker, who does something quite special in the spring training game. We will talk about Hunter Brown, Brett Conine, and show y'all some of the hitting and pitching that happened today at spring training. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. This is a solo edition of Locked On Astros. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we are your daily Astros podcast. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. Eric the Man Heisman is out tonight. You can find him at Eric Talk Stros on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find us on TikTok. So today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has all the bets, all the props, all the information you need to make your informed decisions. Try betonline.net today. It's where the game starts. And we want to thank you for making Locked On Astros your first listen every day. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast. So let's get started. Today's spring training game was somewhat special, where Dusty Baker and Darren Baker shared a moment. Before each game, the managers trade lineup cards, talk to the umpires, and as Dusty Baker comes out of the dugout from the Astros side, which is on the third base side of their facility, Darren Baker was sent out by Dave Martinez so that he could exchange cards. And Dusty Baker, to his surprise, grinned. They exchanged cards. Baker signed his card and gave his son a hug. And apparently his son said, "Dad, you know we're going to have to take it to you today." And what kind of joy this brought to Dusty Baker as a father. His son was a 10th round pick for the Nationals and just getting his feet wet in the pros. He just started his pro career. He came out of college in the California area, and it was neat to see these two exchange. And we'll get to something he did later on in the game. And it's just great to see that because of all the news and all the helter-skelter, just different things going on this last week with the big guy, CC, leaving. We'll talk a little bit about James Click, a little bit about the front office later on in the show. But right now, I kind of want to focus on today's game. I want to focus on Hunter Brown, who is the Astros' top pitching prospect, and what he did today. Hunter Brown came out and he did a great job. He wasn't the only pitcher on the mound that did a phenomenal job. Hunter Brown threw a total of, I had it right here. Hunter Brown threw a total of 80 pitches and 50 of them were strikes, okay? He came out, he pitched 2 2/3 innings. He had 2 strikeouts. He had 1 hit, 1 earned run, and 1 walk. And so in 2 2/3 innings, Hunter Brown came out and he did a phenomenal job. 50 strikes today. He was hitting the zone, hitting between 95 and 96. That's what you want out of your rookie top pitching prospect on the mound. Well, after Hunter Brown came out on the mound, then you had one other pitcher come in, and he didn't throw that much. He pitched for 1/3 of an inning. Rubenthal, and then Brett Conine is someone I wanted to concentrate on as well. Conine came out. He got the hold. Conine had 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Conine is a prospect that we interviewed last year on Locked On Astros, and he has a high ceiling. He looks to hopefully find his way in the mix sometime this year in the bullpen, and this guy's got a solid shoulder on his head. He's got the work, he's got the movement on his pitches, and he's got the velocity, he's got the spin rate. So he is everything that the Astros want, and the Astros have held on to him thus far. And so you had Hunter Brown, you had Brett Conine come in the game. What I wanted to do, if you're watching, I'm going to show y'all a couple highlights from the game, and the media footage is brought to you by MLB Press Box. Here is Hunter Brown. If you didn't get a chance to see a spring training game, for those of y'all listening, we'll just move on talking about the hitting and pitching performances today, and then what Darren did today, Baker, against the Houston Astros. Here's Hunter Brown. So Hunter Brown came out there, threw 2 strikeouts today. He looked good on the mound. He was commanding the zone, and it's great to see this kid. If y'all had a chance, if you're in the Houston area, to see him play in Constellation Field, he looked to be in command of the strike zone. He got guys swinging and missing. He got guys looking, and he sat down a right-handed and left-handed batter. So he got a strikeout on both batters, and the Astros did some damage at the plate as well. Before we talk about the damage that they do at the plate, let me just tell you, before you go any further, the college basketball tournament is upon us. We're about to go to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and it's finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. It's BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. So head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So one of the things happened today is the Nationals ended up winning 3-2. Now, we're not going to recap every single spring training game, but the Astros did have 7 hits, and they let pretty much all the young guys play. And someone was asking on Twitter, why is Dusty Baker not playing the stars? Why is he not playing the veterans? And I will get to the shortstop spot here in a second. I'll address that question here later on. This is what Dusty Baker said today. And this is not an exact quote. I couldn't find the quote, but he basically said the veterans won't get a lot of playing time since we played deep into the playoffs, basically citing the World Series run, citing the fact that we went to the World Series, played into November, not we, that the Astros did, that he doesn't see a need to get the veterans out there because it's such a shortened spring training session. So the young guys are going to get a lot of work. And so that is why you're not seeing a lot of the veterans out there on the mound. Someone was asking about that today. So we just went over Hunter Brown's performance, how he did on the mound. Again, 2 2/3 innings. He had 2 strikeouts. He only gave up the 1 run. And then you had Brett Conine. Brett Conine came out and did look excellent. 3 innings pitched. No, 2 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, only 1 walk. So both of those guys are looking great out there on the mound. And so the hitting, all the hitting was done by guys that you've never heard of. Let's just roll through this lineup. For Houston, Lorenzo, you have Degote, who pretty much everybody's heard of. Kessinger, Correa, not Carlos Correa, J.C. Correa, who was DH today. Corey Brewer, who pinch hit in a DH spot. Holderbach, who got a hit today. Salazar, Barry Hill, McCandy, Hamilton, Adolph, Julks, Corey Julks, a local kid, again, from Clearbrook High School. Joe Perez came in 1 for 1, and McKenna was 1 for 2. McKenna and Perez were 2 guys that we've interviewed here on Locked On Astros. And so what I want to do is I want to address some of the questions that Ron is bringing to us here in this, and then we'll look at the hitting together if you're watching live. He says, have you heard anything of them going after a free agent, outfield, or bullpen help? Ron, James Click has basically said a whole lot of nothing. Before the Correa stuff came up or came and went, he basically said they're going to be looking at making moves in at the trade deadline mid-season, that they're happy with where they're at, that they're not going to really move forward on any free agents. So I really doubt that anything will happen before that. And since you asked another question, I'll go ahead and address it. He's asked, what do you think they're going to do about the shortstop spot? Well, all you have to do is, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, go to astros.com. They talk about it. They named that it is basically Jeremy Pena's job to lose or to win. He is the front runner. They're looking at him. They also have Nico Goodrum, who they brought in, a veteran, who his best utility position is shortstop. So you could put him in there if you feel like Pena needs a rest. But it looks like, unless something happens, good or bad, Pena will be the guy on opening day. And a lot of people are nervous about putting a rookie in that position. Here's how we have to think about the shortstop spot. You're not trying to replace Carlos Correa. You're trying to find a shortstop. Listen to what I just said. You're not replacing Carlos Correa. You cannot replace the platinum Gold Glove winner, the highest paid middle infielder in baseball history. You cannot replace him. You are looking to put a shortstop in the position, and you hope that he is at least major league average, above average, and anything else you get above that is icing on the cake. He has a plus arm. He's got a good glove. His bat's opening up, power that he has untapped. The strikeouts are something to be concerned about, but I promise you they're working on any holes that he may have in his swing. And speaking about swings, if you're watching with us, I put together a little clip, again provided by MLB Press Box, some of the hits today, the key hits in the Astros 3-2 loss. And I'll tell you how they lost after we watch this. All right, there you have it. Some of the young guns up there hitting to right field, hitting opposite field. We got some pull hitting going on. And the Houston Astros young guys are out there hitting. They did match the Nationals today with 7 hits apiece. So that was really, really good. And something you have to remember about this ball club is as much as much negativity that's flying around about Crane and Click is Jim Crane. If you talk to minor league people, if you talk to people that scout, if you talk to people in the Astros scouting department, the sentiment is the same across the board within the organization and outside the organization. Jim Crane puts the right people in the right places and hires smart minor league people. And when they draft smart players. Taylor Jones, I'll talk about over and over again. Whenever he gets his shot, I'm telling you, this kid is a brain. This kid has got tools. This kid has a huge upside. If he ever gets a shot in our organization, he'll shine, okay? Forget about the drop foul ball that everybody talks about. Taylor Jones was one of the top athletes coming out of the state of Washington, a top basketball prospect, but chose baseball. Phenomenal GPA. With this kid, he has got a lot of potential, but he's blocked right now at first base with Yuli there. And there's so many things to look at in the Astros minor league system. They have what's called projectability. They have an ability to have a high ceiling. They have a high ceiling because they've done their homework here in the Astros organization. But let me get to what I've been kind of teasing this whole time. In the game today with Dusty Baker and his son Darren, Darren going to him saying, "Dad, we're going to take it to you." Okay. Darren Baker hit the game-winning RBI to beat the Astros and his father, Dusty Baker, in the first time they ever face off as professionals. So, fitting as it may be, hey, I'm glad it was a spring training game, not a World Series game or something like that. But Dusty Baker talked about just how it was so phenomenal as a father to have your son out there. You always want your kids to be successful. You know, my son, my daughter, always want them to be successful no matter what they do, no matter where they are in life. And Dusty Baker getting to share this moment with his son is huge. And you got to remember, like, Dusty Baker's journey in baseball is so long and distinguished, and he's got so much respect in the game. And I know a lot of people, and I even gave him a lot of grief last year for his managerial decisions. Um, Greg, I'll address your question here in a second. But Dusty Baker is the perfect baseball guy. The players absolutely love playing for him. He does great. He commands that locker room with respect, and he lets his guys play the game. He trusts them. He was the first one to trust Greinke. And so I really think that even though we're missing some key players, that you will see a lot of success this year with the Houston Astros. Greg Little comes in and says, "Do you see Taylor Jones taking over for Yuli in 23?" Now, I don't know if I'm ready to say that 100%, Greg, but I think from everything I know about Taylor Jones, everything I know about him as a player, I really think that he has a very strong chance to take over and be the starting um, and take over the starting position at first base should he be ready. I don't see him. Okay, I don't see him not being ready. This kid can hit. He can absolutely mash the ball. He's really good defender. He's tall. He's long. He's the perfect frame for first base. So I'm going to do some more research on that. I think he could break in 2023 if Yuli retires. I think you make Yuli automatically someone who is in the scouting department. Bringing up maybe Cuban players or international players would be a great thing for him to do. But yes, he is someone that I can see definitely coming in and helping out by 2023, especially if Yuli is out. And let me tell you, let me take a second for Built Bar. So Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar in the land. And if you go to built.com, use a promo code LOCKED15, you'll get 15% off. Why they have these things called Built Puffs? They have Built Bars. The Built Puff is the first protein-infused marshmallow treat wrapped in 100% chocolate. It's got 17 to 19 grams of protein, 130 calories, maybe four carbs, 4 grams of sugar. That's it. You can have it pre-workout, during the workout, or post-workout, or you can have it as a snack like I do. I have one mid-morning, one mid-afternoon. And Built Bars are just the best tasting protein bar. They're not chalky. They're not full of just a bunch of extra stuff. And you don't feel like you busted through your diet. If you're watching your macros and you look on your phone and using it as like a fitness app or whatever, you can put those in and it won't destroy your diet. So go to built.com right now and use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order at built.com. And don't forget that we have a show called MLB Prospects in the Locked On Network. Thank you for making Locked On Astros your first listen every day, but make Locked On MLB Prospects your second listen. I recently had Lindsey Crosby on, and he talked about the big three and other outfielders. We'll have him back. He is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Let's get back into this discussion today. I've got a lot of people online asking questions. Thank y'all for watching us. If you're watching, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. We are like 4 subscribers away from 2,800. That's big for us. We want to get to 3,000. We want to get to 5,000. We want to keep growing. Why? Because the more subscribers we have, the more people out here are listening. And we definitely do this for you guys and girls that are listening. Trev Strohs, I'll get to some of your stuff here in a second. So we have a question here from Jacob. He says, "Who starts in the outfield? Are we going to see Jose Siri or Chazzy Fizz opening day?" And I agree with Arlie here. I would start Chaz in center. Chaz said he wants the job. Chaz was recently on the Apollo Media's new podcast. I believe it's called Out Beyond the Diamond. I may not. Apollo Des would hate me for that, but Apollo Des and Brian Lima host a show. I believe it's called Beyond the Diamond, and Chaz McCormick was on there, and he said, "I want to be the starter. Like I want that to be my job." And so he's definitely eyeing the starting position with the absence of Jake Myers. And Jake Myers probably won't be in until around June. You need to let his shoulder rest. You've seen him in various videos taking fly balls, taking grounders, but he's definitely not throwing very hard. And so I definitely see that happening. Now, I want to address a question that I've been seeing a lot on Twitter, and I want to get y'all's thoughts too. So if you're watching and you are in the chat, you can add your thoughts here. Okay. Um, my question to y'all is James Click the reason the Astros haven't won another World Series? Now, obviously, James Click has not been here very long. Okay. He wasn't here he hasn't been here for all the runs, but is the front office, is James Click, is Jim Crane the reason they haven't won? And as much as I don't agree with them not signing Correa, or as much as I don't agree with them, missing out on Springer and Correa and Keuchel and seeing all these guys walk, the players still have to get out there and play. I don't think 2021 was our year. I mean, the Braves clearly won that full command of the World Series. 2019 was a fluke, bad pitch. And I do believe that the players have a job to do now. Does it hurt losing Correa? Does it hurt losing Springer? Yes. And we know he's not Jeff Lunau. We know that. We know that. We know that. We know that. But I would like us to focus this year on what we have rather than what we don't have. Remember, I'm always positive, always Stros. And the glasses I look through are typically Astros colors, okay? But for me to grovel and sit here and whine and complain about Click, about Crane or whatever, you've got to understand that the Astros are perennial playoff contenders. They are the favorites to go to the ALCS. I still call them my favorite to go to the World Series out of the American League. Yes, even without Carlos Correa. I just do. This team is too battle tested. There's something to be said about the veterans they have. And it will, mid-season pickups will be something that will benefit us. We did mid-season pickups this last year. Did it benefit us? Matan, yes. Graveman, he's gone. But we need to get good relief pitching at the trade deadline. Am I upset we didn't get Jorge Soler? No. I'm not going to sign a career 236 hitter to 13, 14 million a year for 3 years. That's good for Soler. I know he had a high ceiling as a prospect, but I'm definitely not putting all my eggs in that basket. So the time will tell. If the Astros go out and win a World Series, are people going to say, well, Click had no hand in it, it was all the players? Because if they lose, they're going to blame Click and Crane. The bottom line is, why play the blame game? It's pointless. We've got so many more things to think about, okay? How many wins do I think that the Astros get in 2022? Well, Trev, I had the Astros pegged as a 26 to 27 win. I'm sorry, 96 to 97 win team this year in 2022. With the absence of Carlos Correa, I take that down to 92 to 93 wins, but I still think we win the AL West. I don't think the Mariners leapfrog us. I think the Mariners make it into the wild card. I still think the Angels and the Rangers are either at 500 or below. And so it's just one of those things where you have to look at what we have and what's projected. I say 92 to 94 wins is a realistic number for this Astros team. Let me take another question here. All right, the Kush cast. My boy Kush comes in. He says, do you see Kyle Tucker as a possible MVP candidate? Possible, yes. I think he's top five, Kush. I think that Bregman and Tucker are both going to be in the discussion for MVP. Now, whether they're top five or top 10, Tucker's going to have an amazing year. He has the potential to hit 40 to 50 home runs this year. He has the potential to hit in the 300s. And Bregman, you may see him to get 297, around 300 most of the year if he's back in the swing of things. So, yes, he's definitely. Last year, Tucker was my pick for the offensive MVP. And minus the first month or so, I just don't think that there was any other reason not to think that he can't be an MVP candidate. Okay. So that, I think him and Bregman both come in as your MVP candidates. Now, we have a listener, Ted Harrington, says 88 wins. See, the reason why I give them more than 88 wins is because of the division we're in. I know the Rangers went out and spent. I know the Angels have who they have, but the Angels still don't have a ton of pitching. The Rangers still don't have a ton of pitching. They're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to lose a lot of close games. The Astros have to outslug them. I think the Mariners are our competition. Oakland is going to be, I think, the whipping boys of the American League West. To be honest with you, I know they're scrappy, but they've lost pretty much their heart and soul and 100%. So I just see that the Astros definitely can win upwards of 92, 93 wins. Now, with that being said, I want to shift to something, just kind of give y'all a spring training update, okay? So, spring training this week, you will have Jake Odorizzi, who is Trev Stroh's favorite pitcher, will start opposite of Jacob deGrom on Tuesday night in Port St. Lucie, okay? So, Odorizzi versus deGrom, the matchup of the century, the two aces, Odorizzi and deGrom. No, I'm joking. Also, you have Justin Verlander starting Wednesday in West Palm and Jose Urquidy starting Thursday. The pitchers will get more playing time than the veteran position players because of the long playoff run. Obviously, pitchers didn't play as many games as the position players, so that's what I see there. Odorizzi versus deGrom. Dalton says that's not even fair. You know what, though? You can't spell Odorizzi without Z's. And what do you think of Z's? Like sleeping. Anyway, I'm joking. Jake Odorizzi, let's do this. We have to wish this guy well. I mean, McCullers is on the shelf to start the year. We don't know when he's going to be back. He may not be back till the All-Star break. There's no telling. They haven't given us any details. So I just really believe that let's just hope that Jake comes in like a professional and does a good job. I'll take another question here. Brett, who do you think steps up as the new leader that Correa has gone? I think you've already seen that. Jose Altuve is that man. And I really think that even though Carlos Correa had become the heart of this team or the catalyst or the defender, Jose Altuve has always been the leader of this team. He's a quiet leader. He doesn't lead out loud, not front like Correa does. But Jose Altuve is the absolute leader of this team without a doubt. Bregman is your cheerleader. Bregman is your fire starter. Kyle Tucker is your, steady the ship. Brantley is your mentor. But Jose Altuve is your leader. Jose Altuve is going to be able to mentor Jeremy Pena. I saw a great picture today. Jeremy Pena and Craig Biggio sitting next to each other on a bench at one of their fields just talking baseball. And how much wisdom and how great that is for a Pena to sit down under the master, one of the greats, one of the greatest Astros to ever play in Craig Biggio. Think about it, they got Craig Biggio. They got Bagwell there. Gary Pettis is back. We haven't really talked about that. The windmill, Gary Pettis, is back, and the players are so happy to have him. And Reggie Jackson is in camp. They've got a plethora of championship talent, of seasoned veterans that no other team has. And the Houston Astros, they have the experience. They've been there. So before you freak out, before you panic and listen to the Chicken Littles of the Houston Astros world, just know that we are still the reigning ALCS champs. We have been to 5 straight ALCS champs. When I say we, I'm saying this as an Astros nation, as a Locked On Astros nation. Our team is the envy of all other teams, whether they like it or not. whether they got Carlos Correa, whether they're the Yankees who, oh, did you hear who the Yankees signed today? The Yankees signed Marwin Gonzalez. Marwin Gonzalez, who unfortunately we know was the one that benefited from the trash can scandal the most, is now a New York Yankee. So the Yankees fans clamored for Correa. They got Marwin Gonzalez. Marwin Gonzalez is a great guy, great human being. Met him personally. Him and my son got his autograph several times before games, and just love the guy as a competitor. He's a World Series hero in the city. But how ironic is it for the Yankees who clamored for Correa to get Marwin Gonzalez? So that really kind of wraps it up for me tonight here with Locked on Astros. This was a solo edition, sitting in for myself and Eric the Man Heisman here at Locked on Astros. Remember, we are your team every day. And before we leave, Dalton Rose is right. We need to put in Christian Javier as a starter. I love that guy. The Invisible, we need it back. Enoli Paredes, we need him to have a great year. Josh James, we need him to come out of the woodworks and throw smoke and hit the strike zone and get it between the ears. This team has a lot more to be desired than not. Don't live in the past. Live in what we have now and what we can do. Remember, we are always positive, always Stros. I am Htown Wheelhouse. This is Locked on Astros. And remember, when you're out there listening to podcasts, make sure you don't forget about Locked on MLB. Locked on MLB. After you make us your first listen, go to Locked on MLB as your second listen. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues, past and present. It's free wherever you get your podcast. For myself, Eric the Man Heisman, who's not here, find him at Eric Talk Shows. Find me at Htown Wheelhouse. Everybody realize that we are your team every day, and 2022 is going to be a better year than you can imagine. Don't let the haters get in your head. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. Y'all have a good night. Bye.